China is reopening after roughly 3 years of isolation during the pandemic, unleashing pent-up demand for travel. We talked with Alibaba executives about how the platform company is using technology to stay connected with tourists and deepen the relationships between retailers and consumers. During the pandemic, how did brands adapt when Chinese tourists couldn't travel?
International brands have always used the flagship stores in the main and the top leading cities around the world, like London, New York, and Milan, as the entrance point to connect with consumers and really giving them that luxury experience. But the reality is that during the pandemic, it was quite difficult for these brands to leverage this offline and brick-and-mortar stores. So a lot of these brands, especially in China, have tapped into digitalization. And as a consequence of that, we've been working with a lot of these brands to make sure that they can reach the consumers in a meaningful way. So through technologies like live streaming, for example, 3D store operations, or even like virtual avatars. And in the last 2 years, for example, with Coach, an American luxury brand, we've been working with them to make sure that we can digitalize the whole customer journey.
As Alibaba's executive connecting British and US brands with Chinese consumers, tell me, what are they telling you about the need to innovate?
Gen Z and millennial consumers are super young consumers that are actually the driving force of the luxury market in China. A lot of the luxury brands leverage digital innovation technologies to really connect much better with these consumers. For example, with Burberry, they use a MetaPass, which is essentially a digital asset that consumers will hold. It will allow them access to purchase or check or look at the products that they will launch ahead of the average consumer. Or for example, when we work with Alexander McQueen launching their sneakers collection in China, it was all about using 3D try-ons. It was really about bringing those technologies and innovations to the fingertips of these mobile-first consumers.
And how will this omnichannel approach serve brands now that Chinese tourists are returning to the shops in London?
So while brick and mortar still remains a primary way for a lot of brands to tap into the Chinese market, I think e-commerce and digital technologies have enhanced that experience for the consumers and the brands in China. You know, the latest trends that I'm seeing is very much phygital, which is a blend of the physical world and also the digital world, and bringing the best of those two worlds to the end consumer. Luxury was all about bringing the best experiences from the Western world to Asia. Nowadays, with all the innovations that we're seeing in the luxury industry, it's really about also for these brands to test and learn and bring the best practices from China to the Western world. Most recently, we have worked with the Spanish fragrances luxury company called Puig on something that is very innovative. It's called the Sense Visualizer. This is actually a way to picture the smell of the perfume. We already have very tangible results. With Puig specifically, in the last couple of weeks, we have seen a 5% uplift on sales on gross merchandise value. So we believe that with these new tools and technologies and innovations, we certainly can drive much more engagement and sales to those companies that we're partnering with.
Mei, really want to know what's exciting you right now when you look at the future of technology and fashion.
The first thing is the metaverse and Web3, but not in the gimmicky way as we have seen around the world. It has become a buzzword. For me, it's really about the use cases of this technology. So for example, within the Alibaba's Tmall Luxury Pavilion, around 2 years ago, we launched digital collectibles. And these are digital assets that we work with brands like Burberry, Hugo Boss, Tag Heuer, etc., that we design for consumers in China. But what is very exciting about that is the fact that with those digital collectibles that consumers have, we have created a community of consumers that we have identified incredibly young, and these consumers are also very digital savvy. We are seeing a huge amount of uptake on virtual avatars. This is something that has been big in China, and I think in the last 18 months, it has become massive. So it's essentially, think about digital or virtual key opinion leaders that are representing luxury brands. We have worked with the likes of Coach, Burberry, Alexander McQueen, Stella McCartney, where these digital avatars are representing their collections. Overall, this brings me to a very key point of the luxury industry, which is the Gen Z consumers, the young consumers, the millennials, they really want a new way of engaging with luxury brands in a more meaningful way, in a way that there's not necessarily going to the store looking for that glass of champagne, but it's more about how can we bring that convenience of luxury to the fingertips. And it's really about taking off that one shopping experience or one-off purchase of these consumers and really making sure that you have a lifetime value of technologies that will enhance that journey across their lives.
That does sound much more exciting than a glass of champagne. You know, these young Gen Z consumers, they want convenience. Thank you so much for your insights, Mei.
Thanks a lot, Alison.